Thank you. Sneha, you have your hand raised, please. Oh, must be something. Okay, cool.
Didi, can I join with any other phone because this phone will get switched off?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay, Didi, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So, as I said, today I will be talking about two very important American inventions, too, okay, and their impact on the world. Let me know if I'm going too fast or too slow, or if there is certain information that you do not understand. Please raise your hand. If you have any questions, put it in the chat box. Feel free to ask, okay? And please feel free to intervene if you think something is very difficult to understand. Okay, give me a thumbs up, please, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Okay, so before we get to know more about these inventions, let us understand what the word invent or invention means. Next slide, please. Can one of you please read this? Please raise your hand. Anybody? Yes, Diksha, go ahead. Go ahead.
Definitions. Invention is the creation of a new device, process, or product.
Okay.
The
next line.
Discovery school site, an original device or process.
Yes.
The Merriam-Webster Dictionary.
Yes. Very good, Diksha. Thank you. So, invent is to create or design something that has not existed before. For example, a light bulb or a telephone. These things have been invented. It is something that has not existed before. Now, this is different to the word we had learned before, which is exploration. Do you remember? Last time I had taught you what is exploration. It's completely different. Can one of you tell me how it is different? What is the difference between exploration and invention? One of you? Try, give it a try. So, yes, Muskan, go ahead.
यस दीदी, एक्सप्लोरेशन मतलब होता है कि जहाँ वो चीज पहले से होती बट हमें उसके बारे में पता नहीं होता. बट इन्वेंशन मीन्स होता है कि वो कोई भी वस्तु या फिर कोई भी जगह होती नहीं, हम उसका नया निर्माण करते या फिर हम बनाते हैं.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Yes. So invention is something that we create, right? That has not existed before and it is something new. Versus exploration is something that has already existed and we found out about it. So all these Europeans, right? We talked about Amerigo Vespucci. We talked about Columbus. When all of these people reached America, they didn't invent America. America as a land already existed. We talked about Native Americans who lived there. They were already there. These people explored. They got to know about them, right? But today we will be talking about inventions, things that have not existed before, that were made by thinking, by planning, by trial and error, by a lot of hard work. Okay? Everybody with me? Has everybody understood what an invention means? Yes, great. Yes, please. Next slide. Okay, so our first and most important invention of today is the electric television, our TV, right? And the inventor is Philo Taylor Farnsworth. Okay, so Philo Taylor Farnsworth, he designed the first version. Now hear me out. The direct ancestor. What that means? That it's the first version of our modern television. Okay, he invented that. He designed that. So Philo was born in a house without electricity. Okay. For the first 14 years of his life until he was in SYJC, high school. They call it high school, we call it SYJC. Until he was in SYJC, he lived in a house without electricity. It's weird, right? Because he lived in a house without electricity for the first 14 years of his life. And then he went on to invent electrical television. Okay. So something interesting to think about. Also, he belonged to a rather poor family. His father passed away when he was in high school, which means that he had to assume the responsibility of his entire family. He started earning when he was very young, and he went on to invent the first television when he was only 21 years old. I am 20. He was just 1 year older than me when he invented the first television, right? Interesting. Next slide, please. Okay, so please look at this image. Can you see? these pictures, this is the first ever electric television. Can you see the circle? And can you see the black and white? You can zoom, please. Sort of, even you can zoom. Yes. The small circle, yeah, that's exactly how images appeared in the first television ever. But what we watch today is the modern version of television. This looks like a drawing, right? This was the first ever television, and they could only see the head. They couldn't even see the entire body. That's this is but this is the invention, and he did this in 1927. That's right, 1927. And that is 94 years ago he did this. So he was far ahead of its time when he invented this. And even he did not know, right? Even he did not know the kind of impact his invention would have on the planet, and especially for American history and for America. Want to see how his invention impacted American history? Okay, we'll see that. But before that, is everybody with me? Everybody understood what Philo did, how he invented the electric television? He was only 21 when he did that. Okay, got it. Okay, next slide, please. So, to understand how his invention impacted the USA, we need to understand an important part of American history, which is the Cold War. So, after the First and the Second World War, there was a time period in the early 1950s and 60s where a few countries had tension between them. The two countries were mainly USA and USSR, or the Soviet Union. Russia was a part of the USSR, as you can see in the slide. On the right hand side, you have the you have the Russian part of the world, right? In the map, which is red. That's their flag. It's red. That was the flag of the USSR, right? And on the left hand side, we have seen this before, the map of the USA, and along with the flag of the USA, right? So this is the two countries that were in this Cold War. So now what is the Cold War, right? Cold War is a time period where these two countries had tension in between them. They weren't actually going on a war with each other. They didn't have weapons with them, tanks, they had that, but they weren't using them, okay? There was this tension that they wanted to prove. Each of this country wanted to prove that we are the most powerful in the world, that we are the superpower who have the power to take over the world, both of these countries, okay? And what they were doing is they were arming, they were increasing their weapons to show that, hey, I am strong. USSR said, hey, I am strong. USA said, hey, I am strong. And they took this war out of the space. Both of them decided that now we will take this Cold War and we will show that both of us, each of us can reach outside the space, right? Yeah. Next slide, please. USSR. So one fine day, USSR sent a satellite known as Sputnik 1 in 1957. Okay. USSR thus became the first country ever to send something in the space. Now I told you USSR and USA was fighting with each other. They were in Cold War. So everybody around the world got worried that if USSR is able to send a satellite in the space, nobody has ever been there, right? So this was happening a long while ago, right? So now everybody is worried that if USSR is able to send a satellite to the moon, to the space, they can take over the world. They can become the superpower and they will control the world. Everybody is worried. This led to something known as the space race. Next slide, please. Space race. Now, this space race, so we have the Cold War, right? USSR and USA. This led to space race. What that means is that both of these countries are in a race to reach space first. They are in a race. You know how we are in a race? We run. We normal people run. These two countries were in a race to go to the space, right? Next slide, please. Okay. So as we saw, in 1957, USSR has sent the satellite to the space. So now USA is worried and USA wants to do something bigger than that. That's how you win a race, right? So if two people are running, one person goes ahead, one person has to go way ahead than him to reach, right? So now if USSR has already sent a satellite, USA is thinking, what bigger can we do? And that is when John F. Kennedy, the 35th president of the United States of America, came into the picture. He was, as we can read, the 35th president, right? So on May 25th, 1961, he addressed his country, that is the USA, and gave everyone his very, very famous moon speech. Next slide, please. Can one of you please read this? Raise your hand, please. Anybody? Yes, Karan, go ahead. Please read this.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth. Yeah,
Yes, yes. So now what did President Kennedy say? He said that he created a goal, and he's declared that he will send an American man to the moon and bring him back safely. He declared that to the entire world, but especially the USA. The Russians had previously only sent satellites and a few animals like dogs, rats. Yes, they had sent a few animals like dogs, rats, rabbit to the space, but they had never sent, no country had ever sent a human being to the space or the moon, right? Nobody had, because it's very difficult. Even if you send a human being, it's very difficult to bring him back safely, because it's challenging. Nobody knows the space, nobody knows how the atmosphere is, what the temperature is, what the weather is, how it will there be oxygen or not? Nobody knows these things. So now USSR didn't know how to do that, but USA had went ahead and declared that we will send in the next 10 years, so watch out for us. That is what they are saying. They're declaring to the world that watch out for us, because we will be sending a man to the moon and bringing him back safely. Next slide, please. So President Kennedy said this to defeat the USSR and to win the space race, to prove that they can be a superpower. So after almost 10 years of research, trial and error, and development, finally the USA had a spaceship named Apollo 11. But can one of you please tell me, why is it named Apollo 11? And why is it not 42 or 57 or some random number? Please raise your hand and tell me, why is it Apollo 11? Okay, so which I know you know, but if somebody else wants to try, please. Anybody, why do you think it's 11? Why that specific number? Why? Just give it a try. It'll help you. Why is it not 35? If I was making, my favorite number is 3, so I'll say Apollo 3. But it's not, right? There is a reason it's Apollo 11. Why is that? Anybody? Okay, I'll give you a hint, okay? John F. Kennedy said that in the next 10 years, we will send some. Yeah, Muskan got it. Yes, go ahead.
यस दीदी, बिकॉज उनको 10 साल रिसर्च करने में लगा और 11 ईयर्स में उन्होंने वहां पर जाने के लिए प्रोग्राम बनाया.
Yes, correct. It took them 10 years, as the President Kennedy had said, as he had promised, declared that in 10 years, a decade is 10 years, right? In the next 10 years, he will send a man to the moon and bring him back safely. So every year there was Apollo 1, Apollo 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There were 10 Apollos. It was trial and error. It took them 10 Apollos to make Apollo 11. Nothing comes easy, and something as big as sending a spaceship with men to the moon, of course, did not come easy. It took a lot of hard work and perseverance, and that is why it's Apollo 11. It took them 10 spaceships to go to the moon, and it is that the 11th spaceship, as we know today, was a success, and that is Apollo 11. Everybody got it? Why it's Apollo 11? That's why next time when you see a spaceship or a number like that, please know, please search why is it that number, because there is always relevance, and there's always there's some sort of importance behind it. Okay, cool. Next slide, please. So we saw the spaceship. The spaceship was Apollo 11. Now let's look at the 3 astronauts who were inside the spaceship. Of course, on the left hand side we have Neil Armstrong. Everybody knows, right? We must have read Neil Armstrong about. In the middle, we have Michael Collins, and on the right hand side, we have Buzz Aldrin. His actual name is Edward, but they used to, all of us have pet names. My pet name is Sonu, okay? His pet name is Buzz. So that's his pet name. They used to call him Buzz, and that's what they call, everybody calls him today, Buzz Aldrin. So we have Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, and Buzz Aldrin, all three of them ready to go to the moon, to get inside Apollo 11 and go to the moon. Next slide, please. So the moon landing was live broadcasted to the world. It was live. You know how these days we have Insta Lives? Everybody watches Insta Lives. But at that time, they didn't have Insta Lives. They didn't have mobile phones, all of that, right? So now, okay, this context is also important. This is happening in an era where they yet did not have Wi-Fi's. They did not have phones. None of that, but they were able to live broadcast moon landing to not just the Americans, but a lot of people around the world. So, Philo Taylor Farnsworth, we remember him? The 21-year-old dude who invented electric television. His invention that happened 40 years before this had such an impact and was used for this. That electric television was used for live broadcasting after almost 40 years. And do you see, can you please zoom a bit, Saurabh? That's everybody watching the moon landing. That's an actual picture. You see the television on the top. That is where it's being live broadcasted, and everybody in the crowd is ready to watch it, right? Because it was that the slide shift. Thank you. Yeah. So it was, the crowd is there to watch the live broadcast. So that is the importance of live television. And it's interesting because this was happening in 1969. Now, none of us were born there. Just remember that. It was happening back then. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. So on July 20th, 1969, please remember this date. On July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong became the first man ever to step on the moon. Buzz Aldrin joined him 19 minutes later, and Michael Collins flew the airship alone, orbiting around the moon. All of that we can look at later, but let's look at the slide in front of us. We have 4 pictures there. We have 4 set of families there. Can you zoom a bit, Saurabh? Yes. So above you see the title on July 20th, 1969, Day of Apollo Moon Landing. You have a family in Tokyo, Japan, Asia, different continent. You have a family in Moscow, Russia. You have a family in Paris, France. You have a family, you have a few neighbors, maybe must be neighbors or some people who live around each other in Milan, Italy. 4 different people across the world, all of them watching moon landing that is happening in the US. This sort of connectivity wasn't a thing back then. Today, we are all connected with each other because of our phones, our laptops. This wasn't a norm. This wasn't normal back then. But everybody knew, and because everybody wanted to see that how could US send a man on the moon? To them, it was like a joke. When it was something out of the world. Aise kaise? How? USSR is one of the most powerful country, and they are not able to send. Then how can US send, right? They wanted to see. They were surprised. They didn't know what is going to happen. So all of them are watching their television, the live broadcast. And these are actual pictures, by the way, actual pictures of families back then. Next slide, please. So as I said, on July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong became the first man to step on the moon. Buzz Aldrin joined him 19 minutes later. And the third astronaut, the middle one, do you remember? Michael Collins, the one who's standing in the picture? Yeah. He flew the airship alone, orbiting the moon. So he never landed on the moon, but he orbited around the moon all alone in the space. Nobody has done that, and he did that all alone, right? So he did that. And as Neil Armstrong, he landed, he said the words, "Eagle has landed." But what do you mean by eagle has landed? On the right hand side, do you see a circle? Do you see an eagle there? Right? That is an important US emblem, right? It is what the US wants to be, it's their representation. Okay. And that eagle is actually a metaphor. Now, what is a metaphor? Metaphor is, can anybody please tell me what is a metaphor? Anybody? It's a figure of speech, English literature, English. Yes. Okay. A metaphor is a form of speech. A word or a phrase is where a word or a phrase is applied to an object or action which is not literally applicable. Here, the eagle has landed is a metaphor. Why? Because they are calling Apollo 11 the eagle, right? They are calling Apollo 11. Apollo 11 is also flying. Eagle is also flying. Eagle flies, right? Apollo 11 is also flying. So, eagle is a metaphor. It also means, it also represents the USA, like a comparison. Yes, Suvaji, thank you. Yes, it is getting compared. It is a metaphor. It is getting applied. The meaning is right. So here, what they when they mean when Neil Armstrong said that the eagle has landed, it is like their pride that the spaceship, which is like an eagle in the space, has landed. Eagle is eagle is also the US, a very important symbol there. At the right hand side, you can see that it is US's emblem. Eagle is very, it's an important bird, and because eagle also flies as a bird, flies very high in the sky, right? It has a lot of power in it. And USA wants to be, they want to be perceived like that by the world. Powerful, who fly high. So it's like two things in one. That the spaceship is also, they're calling it eagle, but they're also calling it their pride and prestige. And look at us, we are on the moon. The eagle has landed on the moon. It's like that. Everybody with me? Why it's called the eagle? What an eagle is? And what is a metaphor? Is it, please keep that in mind. Okay, what is a metaphor? It's an important figure of speech. Okay, next slide, please. Oh, and then Neil Armstrong went ahead to say one of the most iconic lines to be ever said in the history of mankind. He said, can anybody please read what he said? Raise your hand, please. Anybody who wants to read what is written on the slide? Please raise your hand. Just have to read. Thank you, Shahnaz. Go ahead.
That one small steps for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Shahnaz, stay with me. What do you think that means? Can you please explain in your own words? It's okay if it's in Hindi also. Give it a try. What does that mean? That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Give it a try.
It shows that we should make one steps, and success will reach us.
Okay. Okay. True. Okay. Thank you, Shahnaz. Anybody else who wants to give it a try? What do you mean by that's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind? Who took the step? Who took the step on the moon? Neil Armstrong. How is his one step a giant leap? Giant leap means, okay, so yes, Karan. What is giant leap? बहुत बड़ा ऐसे छलान बोल सकते हैं हम इसे. छलान. Jump. Leap is jump. छलान. Okay. So that's one small step for man. एक छोटा सा कदम एक आदमी के लिए, इंसानियत के लिए एक बहुत बड़ी छलान हो गया. कैसे? How? Anybody? Come on. Muskan, do you want to try? Rukmini. Okay. Give it. Let's go ahead. Go ahead.
Didi, one small step inspired many people to go and try or
Yes.
invent something new.
Yes. Yes, correct. Thank you, Rukmini. There are a few comments here. Mankind, what does it? Okay. Mankind, इंसानियत. Giant leap मतलब बहुत बड़ी छलान, और and mankind का मतलब है इंसानियत. हम सब इंसान. That is mankind. All of us together. So what it says, I think the first step is the biggest step of it. Okay. Okay. So what does this mean? Is that Neil Armstrong took only that one step on the moon. He took other steps also, but his first step on the moon, what does that mean? Is that for all of us as mankind, for science and technology, it is a giant leap. Because if we can reach the moon as mankind, as humans, if we can reach the moon, What more can we do? Please remember, this was happening in 1969. They did not have developed technology like we do today. They were the dreamers. They dreamed about having a life like ours. They were the ones who invented that at that time so that we have our technology today. For them, it was huge. For the world, it was massive. If we can reach the moon, what more can we do? What more? It's like there is no end to our dreams. As if सब हो सकता है. जो भी हम सपना देखते हैं वो सब reality हो सकता है. That is why it's so huge. That is why इतनी बड़ी छलान है वो mankind के लिए. क्योंकि हम as people, as humans, what more can we do? Endless possibilities, infinite possibilities are there. That is why it is so important. Okay, everybody somewhat understood what this means? The quote? Yes? Sanya? Okay? You with me? Okay. Is everybody okay? Yeah, cool. Everybody has understood. Next slide, please. Yes, as I said, this was something that nobody had ever done before. USA had successfully sent 3 astronauts to the moon, but they had also brought them back safely eventually. They didn't stay there. They came back home safely. This was never done by anybody before. This means that they had won the space race. Remember the space race? USSR, USA fighting with each other, Cold War. All of them or both of them are fighting. Both of them want to be the superpower. Yes, that. So now that they are finally on the moon and now they have achieved their national goal, right? Everybody is celebrating. The Americans are celebrating because finally they can declare that hey, we are the superpower because we did send them back, but we also brought them back, right? We also brought them back. USSR had not done that before, right? They had just sent satellites and animals, but we also, and we sent, but we also brought them back. So these 3 astronauts, they became celebrities around the world. Everybody was like, oh my God, imagine nobody has ever been to the moon. Only these 3 people have been to the moon. Of course, they were like celebrities. You know how like we love our Indian cricket team? They were even bigger than that. Okay, they were loved by everybody around the world. In fact, did you know they also came to Mumbai, India to visit? They were touring around the world. They also came to India back then just to meet. They were, yes, as celebrity. You know how celebrities have these concerts, these meetings with their fans? They were having these meetings all around the world, meeting everybody around the world and sharing their experience. Because as I said, only 3 people had gone to the moon back then. These 3 astronauts. Everybody loved them. Imagine, even we would if we were living back then. It was amazing. So in the picture, as you can see, the Americans are waving their flag around. When President Kennedy had given that speech that we will take the man to the moon, he had made it a national goal that America will take it, as I said, in the next decade. So now that they have achieved the goal, they feel a sense of patriotism. You know, during our Independence Day, we wave our flag around during 15th August that, hey, like we are independent now because people fought for our independence. Similarly, they are feeling this patriotism because they were the first ever country in the world to send 3 men on the moon. So now they are waving their flags, they are dancing on in the space in the company looking at the live broadcast. So that's an actual picture. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is again an actual picture of a little girl looking at a newspaper article of the next day. Can you please zoom, Saurabh, if they can read what's written? Thank you. Can any one of you please read? Zoom out a bit, please. Yes, can one of you please read what's written? What's the headline of it? Anybody? Dildar, thank you. Yes, please go ahead, Dildar. Oh, yes.
Ma'am, yes, the eagle has landed. 2 men walk on the moon.
What does that mean, Dildar? Who is the eagle?
Eagle is Apollo 11.
Yes, yes, yes. And where has the eagle landed?
On moon.
Yes. Yes. And who are the two men who walk on the moon? Do you remember their names? The two astronauts?
No, but I am one
Yeah.
one Neil Armstrong,
Yes. Yes.
and second
Yes. Great. Yes. Uh,
I'm not remember that.
that's
Uh,
okay. Thank you for trying. Rukmini knows, I think so.
Birch.
Buzz Aldrin. Correct. Great job, Dildar and Rukmini. Yes. The eagle is Apollo 11. Thank you, Karan. Yes, Neil Armstrong. The eagle is Apollo 11. It's a metaphor, remember, right? The eagle has landed where? On the moon. Two men walk on the moon, that is Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. These two were the one who walked on the moon, right? While the third, Michael Collins, orbited around the moon because he wanted to see how the moon. Yeah, yes, Rukmi, that action. He orbited around the moon. Correct. Okay, next slide, please. Yes. So here we have several newspapers. Thank you, Saurabh, for zooming out. Yeah. We have newspapers from around the world of that time. Do you see they are in black and white? Because they are of that. Today's newspapers have colors, right? They don't have colors. Why? Because they are of that era. That's how you identify things, right? That's how you see where what is from. So this is from that era. On the left hand side, you have the Hindu, which is our newspaper, Indian newspaper. We all know USA is on the other side of the world. Now the news has also reached India that USA has sent 3 astronauts to the moon and has brought them back. So on the left hand side, you have US astronauts land on the moon. Can one of you please read what's written below that, the dream sentence? One of you please raise your hand. Yes, Muskan, go ahead.
USA astronauts land on moon. Dream of this comes true.
Yes.
Arms and Aldrin will walk today.
Yes. Thank you so much, Muskan. Dream of ages come true. सालों से सदियों से ये ड्रीम रहा है कि हमें स्पेस में जाना है. As humans, we want to go. As humans, we are curious. We want to go outside this space. सालों का सपना है ये जो finally पूरा हुआ है 1969 में. So the entire world is celebrating for the US, for us as mankind. Thank you. And Armstrong and Aldrin, so Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong, both of them are walking on the moon. On the right hand side, you have newspapers from different languages, like La Lune. These are not languages that we understand, right? Some of you might, I don't. But these are foreign languages because these are newspapers of different countries. Everybody is talking about the same thing, that USA has reached moon. USA is the superpower. USA has fulfilled the dream of thousands of millions. Okay. Yes. So with this, we come to an end. Oh, it was a much smaller class. Okay. With this, we come to an end. But we need to understand that this celebration happened, right? And because everybody was very happy and everybody was ecstatic. Why? Because just before this incident, there were two big wars, World War One and World War Two, which brought a lot of destruction and grief and pain and loss to everybody around the world. Everybody had lost hope in mankind. Nobody knew when we are going to go back to normal, if we are ever going to go back to normal. Are we always going to keep fighting with each other? That's how Cold War came to be, because there was still tension between countries. But when USA was able to reach the moon, and as I said, endless possibilities were born, it's almost like everybody around the world had new hope for the world, that we are more than war, we are more than fighting with each other. हमें बस वही नहीं करनी है पूरी जिंदगी, लड़ना नहीं है, हमें एक्चुअली साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी में इन्वेस्ट करना है. हमें एज होमो सेपियंस या एज ह्यूमन बीइंग्स वी वांट टू ग्रो. हमें और प्रगति करनी है. That is what happened. And suddenly, that's why everybody was happy that, yeah, finally, like, we have new things to look forward to as the world, right? Yeah. That is what it is. So next, okay, before the video plays, just a second, Saurabh. I'm just going to give you context of the video. You need to please pay attention to the video. You please read the subtitles and listen to it properly, right? This is the actual clip of Apollo 11 landing on the moon. and it's the actual clip. You can actually see the steps, so you can actually hear the sound, like the one of them saying engines off, which means that engines are getting off and they are landing. You can see the steps, you can see the soil or the land of the moon, right? So please focus on all of these things, and let's discuss how the video was for you. Okay, Saurabh, you may please play the video with the sound.
Down a half. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. I'm at the foot of the ladder. The limb footpads are only depressed in the surface about 1 or 2 inches. I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Tony, this is so great you can't believe it. I believe it, Charlie.
Yeah. Give me your thoughts. What do you think about the video? First thought. What comes to your mind? Raise your hand. Just tell me anything. What do you think about the video? Is there something that caught your attention? Anything? What do you think is happening? Anybody? Yes, Subhajit, go ahead.
So as we see in the PPT that that one small step can small step for man on giant leap. So we just see that line on this video.
Yes.
When his first step on the moon.
Correct. Yes. Thank you, Subhajit. Anybody else? Yes, Shahnaz, go ahead.
They are very excited to reach
Yes.
the moon.
Yes, absolutely. Very excited. You can sense that, right? You can hear that from their voices. They were so excited. They're finally on the moon. Even they didn't know they could do that, but they did it. Anybody else? Anybody else? What did you catch? Something? What do you read there? What happened there? Anybody? Come on, you can raise your hand. It's okay even if it's wrong. There is no wrong answer, so just go ahead. Okay, I'll just call names. Sejal K, you wanna try? Come on. You wanna try? Anybody? Rukmini, Muskan, Sanya. What happened there? Anybody? Okay, Rukmini, go ahead.
When astronaut was moving the ladder, he was so happy.
He was.
So,
Yes. He was very happy. So Subhajit pointed out that the quote, one small step for the man, that was said. The previous quote was also said, huh? Eagle has landed. Did you catch that? Did everybody catch that? The eagle has landed was also said. And they talk about how the engines are off and they talk about landing it. And in the beginning, one of the astronauts, they say that how they are cold and they are so stiff, right? Because everything has changed for them. The temperature has changed for them. Everything, right? The climate, the surroundings have changed. So now they can, like, I don't know if they're breathing or not, but like they can just like move finally. Now they are off the spaceship and they can finally see the moon. When we travel, all these routes are well traveled. Yes, Rashtra.
No, please finish and then.
Yeah, these routes are well traveled by. Okay, we know. Okay, I live in Borivali. Then there is Kandivali. I know that because it has existed. Somebody has been there before, after, like it has, right? But nobody has ever, there is no signal there. There is no these landmarks there. They don't know where they are going. They are estimating it. They have calculated it, but they don't know where they are going. So they weren't sure if they will reach or not. It's not like going from Borivali to Malad or like some other station and taking a train. It's going from one planet to another. Nobody has done that. Nobody has done that for them before. So they didn't know if they will do it. That's why they're so excited, but they're also amused. कि हम पहुंच गए? Oh, okay, possible tha ऐसा. That's why they yes, they believed in themselves, but it's also they weren't sure what will happen. So yeah, that is what it is about, the clip. Good question, Karan. Yes, ma'am. Just I'll come back to you. Rashna ma'am wanted to say something. She heard.
Yeah. So sorry. Let's come back. How did they breathe on the moon? Karan, you only tell me. How did they breathe on the moon? Somebody help him.
They
Yes,
had
Muskan.
Maybe
oxygen.
they have oxygen cylinder.
Yes.
Yeah.
And did you see the clothes they were wearing? The suits which they were wearing, very thick to protect them.
Yeah.
And they have to carry their own oxygen because there's no oxygen there. That's why we can't go and live on the moon, because there's no oxygen.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Good question, Karan. That was a very good question. So what I wanted to ask you all is that they were talking, right? They were talking. Neil Armstrong was talking to someone, and someone was replying him and telling him, oh, we were about to turn blue. We are waiting. Who were those people? Who were they talking to? Come on, just guess. He's talking to Michael Collins. Sure, they can all hear each other, but those three men up there are talking to somebody. Who are they talking to?
Scientists.
Sorry?
Prime Minister, President.
Prime Minister. No, I doubt it. The Prime Minister doesn't know anything about, he
They are
really can't
talking
help.
to. They are
Yes?
talking to scientists.
Yes, they are talking to all the scientists here on Earth at the base, BASE, at the base, who are monitoring every single thing that is happening in the rocket. Every single thing, the speed, the pressure, the oxygen, every single thing that is happening to those three men is being monitored very, very closely by the scientists. So there are hundreds of scientists sitting together, watching and listening to every word and looking at their screens to check if these three people are okay, because they are the brains behind sending these three men up there, right? So you're going to have physicists and chemists and biologists and God alone knows astrophysicists and all the most specialized scientists of the USA sitting together, also to try their best to ensure the safety of these people, right? What if some engine fails? What if the oxygen fails? What will happen? So they need those brilliant people in contact with them every minute to help and to put all their brains together to ensure that they bring these people back safely. Of course, nothing happened. Nothing bad happened to Apollo 11. It went safely. They went onto the moon. They got back onto Apollo 11 and they returned to Earth safely. So that was absolutely fabulous. But there's a huge amount. So in the video, when they said Houston is the place in Texas, in the state of Texas, in the USA, where the base was, which was monitoring the entire Apollo 11 mission. So every minute they were talking to Earth so that we could keep a full track of what was happening. Fantastic, isn't that? Imagine somebody's up on the moon having a conversation with you, Shanaz, and you're sitting on Earth. Just think about it. What a fantastic thing is that, right? Great. So, anyone wants to say something? Any questions?
Saurabh, you may stop screen sharing. Thank you. Yes, Muskan.
Ma'am, वहां पर मीन्स हम लोगों ने देखा जापान, रशिया एंड बहुत सारे देश के लोग देख रहे थे, क्या इंडिया के लोग नहीं देख रहे थे टीवी पर?
We did not have television in the 1960s. In India, we did not have television. Isn't
No,
that sad?
ma'am.
Unfortunately, we've been so behind the other countries in technology. We did not have television till the 1970s, late in the 1970s, when I was little younger than you. That's when we got television in India. Before that, we did not have television. So hum nahi dekh sakte the. We had to read it in the newspaper and we had to listen on the radio.
Okay, ma'am.
So it was very exciting on the radio because we could get one UK station, radio station, and we could get 1 or 2 US radio stations. So we had to listen on the radio.
Rukmini?
Yes.
Ma'am, why did they went to the moon and what did they found there?
You tell me the picture of the solar system in your head. Why did they go to the moon?
To search
Think.
whether human beings
Correct,
can
but
live.
why moon? Why moon first? Why moon first? Why not Jupiter or Saturn or Pluto? Why moon? Moon is the nearest. It's not a planet, but yes, it's the moon. It's the closest to us, right? So if you have to go somewhere you don't know anything about, you first go to the closest place and see, okay, can I reach that? If I can reach that, then I will try to go further, right? But if I can't reach that, then where will I go further? You go to the place which is closest to you, right? Right. So absolutely right, Sujit. Moon is the closest to Earth. So first they decided to go to the moon. You know, today that people have reached Mars. We have reached Mars. But definitely the moon. First went to the moon. And what did they find there? They already knew a lot, but now they found a lot of new things about the moon. You know, when they go there, they don't just walk around. They take samples of the soil. They look around to see what they can find. They record everything. They photograph everything for the scientists back on Earth to then think about and calculate and try and find out more and more information about the atmosphere, about the ground, about the soil, about is there water. Very important, right? So lots and lots of interesting information comes from these expeditions. Yes, they research about it. This is all very important. But good question. Why did they go to the moon first? Somebody else?
Ma'am, what happens when they send animal on moon?
Initially, when they sent, I think many animals died on these missions because they were not always able, in the first ones, they were not always able to bring the animals back, you know. And they wanted to see if they could breathe, till what level, calculate things about oxygen. It's a very, very difficult thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Today, scientists who are studying these things, they know all these facts. But at that time, nothing was known. It was also ridiculous if somebody said, moon pe jana hai, they'll say, theek hai abhi, wo to completely crazy aadmi hai. Right? Today we know you can do it, but at that time it was something completely crazy idea.
May I add, ma'am, something?
Yeah, please.
So that is why the moon landing and Americans going to the moon is such a big thing, right? Because nobody was willing to send humans. Because humans, I mean, the animals, the initial animals were all killed. They did not survive. They did not come back. And that is why President Kennedy, he said that I not only will we send like 3 men on the moon, but also bring them back. So this was even bigger. It wasn't just sending a human to the moon, but also bringing him back. That's why it is so iconic. That's how they became the superpower. That's how they showed the world they are strong. That is why it's so important.
We still have some time if anyone wants to ask anything or discuss anything or say something that you really liked or you found interesting.
मैम
What was the most? Yes.
मैम जब वो लोग मीन्स एनिमल्स को भेजते थे मून पर तो उसको भी ऑक्सीजन मास्क लगाते थे.
You see, inside the rocket, beta, there is free oxygen. They have huge tanks. The oxygen is there, and also the pressure. I don't know if you all know what pressure is, but pressure is also very important. Also, gravity. All these things are very important when you're doing these missions. There is no gravity. So all these, there's a lot of science research which goes into doing this. You have to maintain inside the rocket the correct pressure, the correct oxygen level for human beings or animals to live. Otherwise you'll die inside the rocket only. You won't even reach, you know. And it's very difficult when you're leaving Earth, when you're leaving. That is the most dangerous part in the rocket. You can Google Apollo 11 or any rockets leaving, when they leave the Earth and they move up. Okay, that's a very, very important thing. And you can see how much power it needs to move away from Earth. Because you know, on Earth, there is gravity. We are standing on Earth. Something is pulling us towards the Earth, right? So we have to get out of this atmosphere of Earth and go into space. And that's really, really hard to do. Yes, Subhojit, I do agree. We must all thank Arushi very, very much for today. She's done a lot of work for this. And thank you so much, Arushi. You've really done a superb job of presenting this. I hope all of you all agree with me on that. You do, Shanaz? Yes, definitely does. Yeah. And Muskan, thank you so much, Arushi. You've done a super job. So we will put out, yeah, our Google sheet. Yes. Try and remember, try and answer. And I hope that in future GK sessions, even some more of you come forward and take little parts of the GK session, you know, for topics that you might be interested in or something that you know about, which information you can share with your friends. Even you could take 5 minutes or 10 minutes of the GK class. Even that would be wonderful. Okay, you can watch Mission Mangal, and if you want to see how a rocket launches. Thank you for that, Subhojit. Do watch, because it's a fantastic thing to see. So are we done, Arushi?
Yes, ma'am. I'll just